Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Paradox Poets podcast. I'm your host, Milton Sprout. With me are my two co-hosts, Lucy Aardvark and Carl Gunther Belmore.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, what's up?
So, we should probably start by clearing something up very quickly. Our voices probably sound like they're being generated by artificial intelligence, but we are actually real people. We are just using AI to slightly modify our real voices to protect our privacy for the time being. Once we make it big, once Paradox Poets is the #1 podcast in the world, which is bound to happen, we are going to do real voice reveals. Until then, you're going to have to accept these slightly modified voices, I suppose.
You're welcome.
Yes, Lucy is the one who uses AI on our voices. She's the most tech-savvy out of all of us. Without her, this podcast would never have happened. So
you know that a voice reveal is never going to happen either.
What do you mean?
You know that, right?
Come on, Gunther, have a little faith.
Yeah, have a little faith, Gunther. If not in us, have faith in yourself. We're going to make it.
That's not the point. The point is that if we make it big, then we are stuck with these fake voices.
Right.
Huh?
Think about it for a second.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Gunther.
Yeah, thank you. Lucy gets it. Once we become famous with fake voices, nobody will accept our
People won't want to hear our real voices.
Yep, exactly.
Huh. I never thought about that. Honestly, I never thought about that for a second, but now that I do think about it, that is fantastic.
How exactly?
You mean we will have complete anonymity with epic levels of fame. That's like the best of both worlds.
I would say we will have relative anonymity.
I agree. Somebody's going to figure out who we are sooner or later.
Okay.
We better get used to that idea right now.
Okay, that's fine. You know, relative anonymity is better than no anonymity. So,
What are you grinning for?
He probably thought of a pun.
Thought that maybe we should have named the podcast Relatively Anonymous or The Relatively Anonymous Poets Podcast.
Yeah, that's bad. And
Thank
I'm
you.
glad we didn't let you name the podcast, Milton.
Oh, yeah. Thank God we had Selena to shut that crap down.
I didn't want to name the podcast.
What was it that she said about you? For a guy named Sprout, you
Milton.
have...
For a guy named Milton. Savina said that for a guy named Milton is incredibly unpoetic. That it's like having a friend named Shakespeare who only writes smut poems.
Aw, Selena said that about me. That is so nice. I'll take that's a compliment right there. You know, I am the Shakespeare of smut poetry. By the way, we are totally going to do an episode of smut poems, and you're all going to have to write like at least 7, and then I'll show you how it's done. I'll write like 70. I'll take the weight off your shoulders for that episode. But we are doing that. We are totally doing that, and then we'll see who are the paradoxes and who's the poet in this podcast.
I can't decide if that was lame or pretty good. Probably going to go with pretty lame.
Hey Gunther, do you want to make some noises to prove that you're not an AI? Make some noises that an AI would not be able to generate.
Wow, that's a smooth transition from poetry to let's just make noises.
That's okay. Lucy will edit in some kind of, musical little boo. She'll make like a smooth edit, smooth cut. She knows how to do that stuff.
I'm going to save my edits for the smart poetry episode, Milton. I'm going to take your poems, splice them up, turn them into something that someone might actually want to listen. How about that?
You know what? You've just given me an actual idea for an episode, for another poetry episode. So yeah, it's your fault, Lucy, but now we are doing 2 poetry episodes. We're going to do them back to back, and they're going to be like the second and third episode. We're going to do them immediately.
Milton, you have just demonstrated a sufficient level of natural stupidity to convince anyone out there that you're not an AI, so that's good.
That is good, but you have yet to prove that you're not an AI, so, make some noises, Gunther. Make some noises so we can move on.
I'm not going to make noises. And I don't want to move on. I'm having a really good time. How about you, Lucy?
Sure. This podcasting thing is fun, but I think our audience would probably want us to move on.
Yes, they absolutely would. So make some noises, Gunther, so we can move on. Otherwise, Lucy, you're going to have to support me on this, because if Gunther doesn't make noises, I will not stop asking him to make noises, and then you'd have to edit this. Like, it'll be way worse to edit this episode than if Gunther just gave us, give the people what they want so we can move on. Make some noise. Make some noise for the kids at home, Gunther.
Kids at home? What are we, a PG podcast?
We haven't cursed once. So yeah, we could keep this as a PG podcast. until Derek shows up at least.
Yeah, this is going to become an X-rated podcast very fast unless you stop asking me to make noises. This is going to become X-rated way before Derek arrives. If you don't stop pestering me, that's what will happen.
Fair enough. You've convinced me.
The X rating isn't a thing anymore, though. The really filthy stuff is now called NC-17. That's what the rating is called.
Why do you know that, Lucy?
Because I know things.
You know things.
Yes, I know things. For example, I could find out every single website either of you have visited since you were teenagers. So, maybe we can do a podcast episode about that.
You know what? Cut to commercial break. This podcast is brought to you by Chunk Punk Corporation and
that was smooth.
Institution for Not Knowing Things About Your Friends. Yes, our sponsors for today.
That was real f***ing smooth.
Oh, come on, Gunther. Now I have to look up the bleep sound effect before I edit this episode. Thanks a lot.
What have you done, Gunther? Okay, so we have fooled around for long enough. Let's get to some proper introductions. Let's make the first episode one where our fans, 10 years from now, when we have millions of fans, they can come back to this episode to get to know how it all started, why we started this podcast, how we met, and who the hell we even are in the first place. And I think we'll save the story of how we first met for the ending. Make it like a teaser. You've got to stay to the end of the podcast to hear this epic tale. Because it really is epic and fun. It's a really fun story of how the five of us, two of us are not here at the moment, but how the five of us first met. By the way, I'm willing to bet money that a lot of listeners will not believe us. They will think that we're making stuff up because the story of how we first met sounds like something out of a sitcom, It just sounds like something that does not happen. It sounds totally made up.
No, no, mate, you're overselling it here. You really are overselling it.
I'm not overselling it.
It's not that unusual for in that.
It was for me.
Guys, we have to tell the story if we're going to argue about it.
No, yeah, we do.
Yeah, so let's just tell the story. Let's not leave it for the end. Let's just get it out of the way. The audience will love it, whether it's here or in the ending,
Do you
Our
want to tell it?
podcast is not going to have any bad bits.
Do you want to tell the story, Lucy? It appears that you're the voice of reason at the moment, so,
I always am.
Tell the whole thing.
Okay, I don't mind telling the story, so I'll make it quick and concise.
You'll tell it better than
the
I
five
can.
of us were...
It was a fairly regular
Gunther,
Boxing Day for me, so...
Nobody knows what Boxing Day is outside of the UK, Gunther.
Yeah, right.
Yes, but it is actually a detail that matters in this story, and also people do know Boxing Day is like a thing all across the Commonwealth. Anyway, the five of us met in a pub in Manchester. The five of us being me, Milton, and...
I was there.
Yes, you were there.
For Boxing
and
Day.
And also Selena and Derek, two of our friends who will show up in this very episode in the podcast.
This was in 2021, right?
Yes, you remember correctly. It was December 26th, 2021. We were in this pub in Manchester. There was a football game being shown on TV, and I don't remember, and I don't care who was playing. But to make a long story very short, an epic brawl broke out between the supporters of the two different teams.
Beyond epic, and I hope they were supporters of two different teams, otherwise that would have been very depressing infighting.
Yeah, indeed. And the five of us went outside. We ended up being the only ones not trying to kick someone's face in over a football game. We decided to have a chat instead, and within the space of 15 to 20 minutes, we had become best friends. Well, not best friends. We had become friends, and by now, we have become best friends. So that's the long and short of it, I think.
Two things I will never forget from that day. One was Gunther, seeing you make your way through those football hooligans. It was like a knife through butter, and for a second there I thought you were like aiming for me, maybe thinking that I was wearing a green shirt. So I was like, and I'm aiming for you. And then when you came outside and just took out your vape, I was like, oh, this guy's actually chill. He looks like the biggest, meanest one.
Thank
and
you.
He's actually chill. So, wonderful first impressions, obviously.
Why, if I was not a big, mean-looking guy, if I had not been a big, mean-looking guy already back then, I would not have made it out of that pub.
Yeah, if someone my size had, if I had started my journey to freedom and safety from where you were like at the back of the pub, like at the very back. If I had started my escape from that point, I would have been squished like a bug. And the second thing that I will never forget was the moment some dude picked up a beer glass.
In a
and
pub?
he was
No
going to
way.
hit someone over the head with it.
What? Seriously? I didn't even see that.
No, you wouldn't have. It was.
Wait,
I
someone
saw
got
it right
killed?
before I came outside. It was the last thing I saw, actually. And he didn't kill the guy because he didn't actually strike the guy. And that's the thing that I will always remember is the moment that he lifted the glass, it was full, and the beer he splashed the beer all over himself. And it's like that moment gave him clarity, like brought him back to reality. So he just put the glass down, and he had this look in his eyes, like, oh my God, I almost just killed a person with a beer glass in a bar over a football game.
That could be turned into a successful Monty Python-esque sketch, to be honest. Just have the guy actually finish the beer glass at the end.
That would have been funny.
And then say, I am awesome. And then sing a song. You'll have a perfect Monty Python sketch, man.
We're going to save that. You know what, Gunther? We're going to save that idea for when we do sketches that don't exist, the episode of our podcast. Sketches that don't yet exist. We're going to have something happen exactly like that.
Guys, we can't do that. We cannot bring alcohol to the home studio. We promised Selena, and there's no breaking that promise. So, sorry, that's not going to happen.
Did you have to remind us of that?
Yeah, Lucy,
Besides,
what
Selena's
the hell?
not here. She's not going to arrive for another, 12, 10, 8 minutes?
We can totally get drunk in that time. No problems.
Getting
at
drunk
least
on
I can.
Getting drunk on our first episode. That's a really good idea. Do you want to recreate the entire evening that we met with possibly more violence once Selena gets here? I don't think that's a good idea.
Fine.
So, sorry guys, I'm out.
Fine, let's get back on topic. Do you guys remember what we talked about in front of the pub? That's a nice, long, awkward pause.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I will put some crickets during that pause, so our listeners will have a, less embarrassing experience than we just did. But seriously, I don't remember what we spoke about at all. But somehow we clicked.
I don't even.
All five of us. We just clicked.
We did. Full confession time. I don't even remember who won that game. All I know is it could not have ended in a tie, or there probably would have been less violence, Just football logic.
Yes. Well, my friends, if we don't remember much about that evening, then let's get to know each other all over again, and our audience will get to know us as well. I had prepared some questions that we can ask from one another to, introduce ourselves properly.
Okay, that was a pretty smooth transition.
Yes,
well done.
That
well
was
done,
an
Milton.
actually smooth transition. You're learning, Milton. Our first episode, you're already growing as a podcaster.
Thank you.
And also less editing for me, so thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to say that if you're not halfway perfect when you're halfway into your first episode, you should probably just give up, and do something simpler with your lives. Something even simpler than making a podcast with your friends, maybe.
And you just screwed up again.
What do you mean?
Yeah, he did.
What do you mean I screwed up?
Self-deprecating stuff. Nobody wants to hear that. That's not a sign of a veteran podcaster.
Absolutely true. Sorry,
Okay,
Milton.
let's just get to the introductions.
Yeah.
I found some questions online. Before you cry foul, I also made up some questions of my own. Some much better questions.
Your
non-cliche,
originals?
actually interesting, deep questions.
Can't wait to answer those.
I bet.
I really can't wait.
Are we ready to do this? I have an article open in front of me. 151 actually interesting questions to get to know someone. This is from
interesting.
This is from Teamwoke.
In the title, that's a sign of quality.
It is.
Gotta be.
I Googled for a long time.
Also,
this is the best one I found.
150 questions. Just how long are we going to be here exactly?
We're not going to answer all of them, Gunther. I would pick the best ones, and then we can take turns. We'll go around alphabetically, answering the questions that I choose, unless someone has a better idea.
We could use dice for the questions.
Yeah, that could work. And then we just take turns, go around in...
Yeah, we can answer in alphabetical order, but we can use this die to determine our fate.
Is that your lucky that's your lucky D&D die?
Yes, it is.
The 20-sided lucky die. You brought it into the studio to bring us good luck for our first episode?
I bring it with me everywhere, actually.
Right. I knew that. I know you take it with you everywhere.
Feel free to interpret it as you please.
This is a good sign. Lucy has her good luck charm. We can't go wrong now. So let's head into these questions, and we can use the die. Even though there are 151 questions, but they're divided into subsections like funny and serious and Viola, and every subsection has 37 or 38 questions. But I guess we'll just stick to the first 20 so that we can make use of your lucky die.
Yeah, let's do that.
We don't want to, we don't want to upset the dice gods. Is that a thing in D&D?
No, that is not anything in Dungeons and Dragons, Milton. It's
Wasn't it the heart of the dice? I remember something like that.
now you're thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh, the Heart of the Cards. That's a card game. That's a completely different thing. It's a card game and an anime. So you're
Can we
still
get to
here.
the questions before the two of you
We
nerd
did it,
each other
Lucy.
to death?
Lucy, we did it. Ginther is
Or
excited.
bore me to death, please.
Ginther is actually excited
Sorry,
for these
Ginther.
questions.
Exactly. That's exactly what that means.
That is what it means. You're excited for the questions. We need to write this down. This is a
We are
historic
recording
moment.
this, Milton. It will always be a matter of public record that Ginther was excited for Teen Vogue, was it?
Yeah.
Teen
Roll the
Vogue's
dice,
questions.
Lucy. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will. But first, Milton, turn your screen around. I think Gunther and I both
Oh,
want
right.
to see
You
your
need to
screen.
see.
We need to know that you're not making these things up.
Oh, that's the reason. Well, wow, the things you find
Milton?
out when you start a podcast
Just
with your friends.
turn the monitor. Thank
You
you.
hurt his
I can't
feelings,
turn the
Lucy.
monitor if you don't trust
Okay,
me.
that's okay. That's all right. That's
Okay.
much better.
Ginther, you can see as well?
Yep.
Okay, we can start. So, Teen Vogues, what about number of questions? Let's start with the first batch of questions. Deep questions to ask someone. And we'll do questions 1 to 20 because we have a 20-sided die. Lucy,
Yeah?
Ginther, if we're ready, I'm ready.
This
So,
die is itching chili in my palm, Milton.
okay. Roll the die, Lucy. Let's
I
get
shall.
this party started.
Yes, I shall. Here comes the first roll of the day.
We really need to make more
5.
space.
A
Yeah,
five,
that's
okay,
a 5. But we need to make more space. Our table is cluttered as hell.
We will for a future episode if we ever need to roll dice on this table again. We can't stop the momentum of the first episode to clean the table, Gunther. That's not how podcasts work. I'm sorry. The fifth question, and we started with deep questions to ask someone. So, super deep question number 5. When do you feel the safest? Gunther, you're
When,
up first.
not where. That's argy worded.
Yeah, this kind of is, but what are you going to do? That's the question. So, Ginther, the floor is yours. When do you feel the safest?
When it's me behind the wheel and not one of my friends who swears they know how to drift.
Okay, at least I know you're not talking about me, because I can't drive at all, but you feel safest in traffic?
Yes, absolutely. You heard me exactly right,
That
Milton.
makes sense, actually.
It
The
does?
concept of safety has no meaning unless there's some danger about.
Oh, okay.
Selena could debunk that in a heartbeat. We're getting all philosophical. She's not even here yet.
Yeah, we can move on. Gunther, even if that's not what you meant, and if Selena could debunk what Lucy's... Sorry, Lucy. Selena, if she could debunk everything that Lucy said in like 20 seconds, I think Lucy made a good point. I think you, Gunther, gave an excellent answer. So we can move on. Lucy, roll the die again and make it a good roll, because it's
I will.
your turn to answer the next question.
All right. First, Gunther, can you give me the microphone box over there? Yeah, that one.
I
I
can
rolled the
almost
die inside
reach
it because the last time it almost rolled off the table, and I don't want to go diving underneath the table to find out what the result is.
Here you go.
Thank you. All right, I have to shut this down. But I can roll the die in here now, safely. So this is for deep question, number whatever.
Yes. Deep question time. Unless you want to switch over to fun get-to-know questions. And then
Why
I would
not?
be left
Yeah.
with personal questions or funny questions.
That works for both
which
of us.
I don't know what the difference between that and fun questions is, but we can do fun
Doesn't
questions
matter.
for you.
Okay,
The
that
deep
works.
questions, how deep can they be compared to the stuff
Yeah,
I prepared?
I was able to answer one of them, so how deep could those questions have possibly been?
You tell me, there's one here, number 34. Do you believe in ghosts? So that's deep. Also, what were you telling me about, both of you? What were you saying about 5 minutes ago about self-deprecating humor? Now you're like, oh, I can barely answer deep questions? Gunther, I believe you owe me an apology. I'm waiting.
It's not my
And
fault. I'm better at it than you are.
Oh, I know. I know what's going to happen. Lucy, you're going to put a bunch of crickets here again, aren't you? How many crickets are you going to use for this pause?
All of them.
All of them.
Yes, all the crickets.
Okay.
Milton.
Thanks, Lucy.
Well, I guess I have 2 choices. I will learn how to edit these things myself.
Oh, of course
or,
you will,
or we
Milton.
can go on and we can move on. Lucy, your turn to roll the dice. So roll them well, because you have to answer the next question. And a fun one. We decided on a fun question.
Some fun sounds like a good change of pace,
I just
honestly.
rolled a natural 20.
Okay, Yay, that's good,
which
right?
means something in D&D. It's awesome, but means nothing here. But it
Okay,
barely
the
rolled,
20th
so I feel like I'm cheating.
The
I'll roll again.
Oh, you want
It
to
just
go
sort
again?
of fell.
Okay.
I feel like I have
The
to go
box is
again.
too small. Maybe just shake it a bit. You'll get a more accurate result. Or whatever.
That's not how rolling dice works, Milton. You would know that if the heart of the dice spoke to you. But anyway,
Yes.
here I
so
go
why
again.
doesn't it speak to me, Lucy? Why are you the chosen one? And that is off the table.
More crickets?
I can't see where it landed.
I'll go look for it. It's
And,
okay.
Why did the height of the dash? Why did the height of the dash fail you, Lucy? Messed up my own joke.
That was so
You
bad,
messed up
Milton.
pretty badly.
We're going to have to stick to cricket effects for our comedy.
I'll add an applause sound effect. That was sufficiently funny.
Welcome back, everyone. I don't have the energy to pretend that I have energy, because we have some good news and some bad news. The good news is we found the die. It was in a pile of garbage in the corner of a home studio, but I have it here now in the palm of my hand. And I really should do too, Lucy.
Why
Yeah,
were you
Prince.
hiding the dice in the first place, Mr. Hide on the Darf?
Wasn't that? Was safekeeping it until
What's
we
the type of
started
nickname like
recording
Hide on
again.
the Darf?
And
It is unhealthy to be in denial, Mr. Hayden Danash.
that is nothing like what I sounded like.
Mr. Hayden
That-
Danash, denial is psychologically unhealthy.
how I pronounced
Truly,
it.
it's unhealthy. I read it in a newspaper back when we still had
Well, dear
newspapers.
listeners, we have more good news and more bad news. The bad news is Gunther has driven Lucy crazy, and now Lucy is playing with her die. She just stopped to make me sound foolish. That's okay. The good news is, Gunther, we no longer have to fear that anyone in our audience will think you are an AI.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, because the way you mispronounce the words that I'd already mispronounced, that is
Yeah, you make perfect
just
sense apart from the
that's just
mouth mispronunciation.
layers upon layers of pure human imperfection. I don't think even Lucy could use, but even with her skills, I don't think she could make an AI sound like you just sounded. That was perfectly
underestimate my
imperfectly,
power, Milton.
humanly rubbish.
Okay, Milton,
Guys.
you are a poet after all.
Guys, indeed. Derek's gonna be here any minute. Milton, if you have any
Oh,
questions
right.
worth contemplating, bring them on. Otherwise, we won't have time.
No, we don't have time, actually.
Yeah, we probably
Sorry.
don't.
They were great questions, though. In fact, they were so great, I'm going to save them for our final episode. When we're all old and grey, we're going to answer questions with our, at that point, non-existent,
Cognitive abilities. Or critical
Yes.
faculties.
non-existent critical faculties.
Yes,
Thank you.
that was the expression
Or
you were
whatever
looking
you
for.
were, in other words, whatever you were missing when you wrote your own questions for us.
My questions were brilliant. My questions are absolutely brilliant, Gunther. You're not ready for them yet. So one day when you're old and grey and you'll be a wise old man, then I will ask them and you will be able to give proper answers and we'll have a good time again.
Well, what about now? Would you rather kick a puppy to save a kitten or kick a kitten to save a puppy?
I understand that you want to make the podcast more interesting, but don't invent stuff on my behalf, Gunther. That's just not nice.
Oh yeah, I'm inventing questions that are just too difficult. Well, maybe you can answer a simpler one. Why do you think... what was the question, Lucy?
Why is Milton so handsome? It was only number 3 on his list of the most important questions to ask people. Can you believe it?
I am keeping the next die I find.
What a humble friend
If you're
we
going
have.
to go through my private documents, I am going to keep every
Nice,
die I find
straight
now
from
on.
the horse's
I won't help
mouth.
you look for anything.
Your documents, which means your questions.
My brilliant questions. Don't forget the right adjectives, Gunther. That is beneath you. But think serious. We are actually running out of time. Derek is going to be in here in less than 2 minutes. So, very quickly, to our audience at home or wherever, we decided, when the 5 of us decided to do the podcast, it was always clear to us that 4 or 5 people in the studio at the same time is just way too many. Like, it would just be
Yeah.
utter chaos. So, we are going to be switching hosts in and out. And every single episode, there are going to be segments where we switch members. And sometimes it will be just the 3 of us, and sometimes maybe I'll go missing, sometimes Ginther will be, whatever. I'm grumbling. But Dirk is going to be here in a minute. Now we are going to say goodbye to Ginther. Right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing. You'll be back on the next episode, probably. Almost certainly. You'll be back for the next episode. And do you have any last words?
Not for now.
That sounded morbid.
Yeah, not for now. I don't plan to die yet. I plan to be back and take over the podcast next week. Until then, I suppose I will say goodbye to the kids at home and don't make weird noises.
Keep it AI?
Especially if someone thinks you're an AI.
Okay.
Play into that.
Good
Stay
advice.
off what was it that Derek once said? When he was drunk,
We're not. You're not drunk.
don't do streets. Stay off the drugs.
Don't do streets. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you, Ginther. Good luck, and you did just steal Derek's catchphrase, though, I suppose. So I will have to write him a new one. Lucy will help me out. And it'll be good. Oh, whatever. We will soon be back with the 5th member of our podcast. Our good friend, Derek Julian, will be in the studio right after this musical whatever Lucy is going to put in here. And now, dear listeners, it is time to reveal the answer to the question, why is our podcast called that? Why do we call ourselves the Paradox Poets? To answer that question, in the studio, our 4th host for this episode, Selena.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
And I am thankful that you made it here because you brought sandwiches. I don't know how. How did you know? Somehow Selena knew that recording this episode, which will probably end up being 35 minutes long once Lucy edits out all the crappy parts, somehow you knew that this was going to take us 4.5 to 5 hours to record it. And we were starving. And now we're not.
You almost sound angry. You almost sound angry over the fact that you were brought free food. Or is it Derek?
Derek, who?
You'd better address that.
Okay, I will, really quickly, and then we'll give the mic to Selena. Apparently Derek is not going to be able to make it into this episode. Unfortunately, over some silliness, I think he had to go to the dentist for an emergency root canal. And honestly, Derek, I am sorry to say this, but failing us like this thing to show up to an episode of the Paradox Poets podcast.
He can't host anymore.
I was going to say he's off.
No.
Or we just demote him?
I think that would be
no
enough.
Second chances in Paradox Poets, Lucy.
Wow, how lucky we are that is not just for you to decide. Milton is... Selena, do you want to say something, anything at all? Milton is clearly losing his mind over Derek's betrayal.
Oh, cute. Cute and charming. That's what that is.
Cute? That's
Milton,
what I am.
He reminds me of my brother. When my brother was very little and one of his friends couldn't come out to play, he would react like that, like Milton is now. And it's really charming in a way.
That's what I am. I am brilliant and charming and the Shakespeare of smut. And that brings us back to poetry, which brings us back to our name. Or the name of our podcast, obviously. So why are we called the Paradox Poets when we only do smut poetry? Selena, you came up with a name. Where did it come from?
Yes, but it was also a team effort. Let's be fair, because we did a brainstorming session and we came up with dozens of names, most of which were awful, some of which were good. It's unfortunate, Lucy, that the name you proposed was already taken.
Yes, a few podcasts have the name, the F5 podcast already.
I was
Not
so annoyed
too
when I Googled that and found that out. And I was heartbroken, not just for you, Lucy, but because from a marketing point of view, you can't have a better name than that. And put a fit F5, 5 friends, 1 letter, 1 number, perfect name. From a marketing
for a computer
point of view,
podcast,
you know?
Yes. For a technology podcast, it's the perfect name. But we're a Slice of Life podcast. We don't really need to mourn a loss of that name.
Do you remember any other names that we were seriously considering before we landed on Paradox Poets? Because I don't.
I recall only the moment when we realized we were going to have to make a Slice of Life podcast, because our hobbies and our interests, as much as we love each other, and I'm not afraid to say that, our hobbies and interests were sufficiently different, and we realized we were never going to have a one singular vision
Oh, yeah,
for the
of course
podcast.
not.
Yes, that was never going to happen. And when we realized that, I recall you, Milton, trying to come up with pun-based names that would sound like Slice of Life. And I want to say you didn't think of a single good... I certainly don't
Probably
remember. I
not.
can't recall a single one.
I don't blame you, but that's why it's good that we had you. If my puns failed, I'm glad we had you to give us a name with some depth, so we became the Paradox Poets. But specifically because that's your cue to finish
Slice of
the
life,
explanation.
Milton. Yes, slice of life. Life is paradoxical. Our existence is filled with things that are contradictory and make no sense. And we don't have to be philosophers or even philosophy students to explore these things. And we don't have
Philosophy
we
episode
don't have to be
confirmed.
poets to explore these things. We can just do it as human beings and friends on something as simple as a podcast. So I'm really glad that we found a name that really reflects that and sounds pleasant in the ears. I remember that moment.
It sounds
Yes,
epic.
I remember that moment when we all realized, hey, this is actually, it's poetic.
Indeed.
It's catchy.
If I would not have been as beautiful a name.
Yeah, we got the word then, because numbers... Sorry, Lisa. Because numbers are not quite as poetic. How does anyone
be.
remember how we got Derek to agree to that name? He wasn't too thrilled about the idea of a podcast
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
first
he
place.
wasn't.
At least until we told him he could bring his guitar every time. But
He had some logic
He
behind it
rationalized it
eventually.
in a bizarre
he agreed
manner,
to the name because he said
which he admitted to.
he said
though,
that as
to
long
be
as he's
fair.
on the podcast, he likes the poets part because he takes it as his tribute to one of his favorite bands, a Finnish rock band called the Poets of the Fall.
one of those weirdo bands that only he likes and
no.
likes to pretend are not
No,
weird
not
at
a
all.
weirdo underground band. I don't know how famous they are outside of Finland, but they're not weird. They're like a really good
Derek's
pop
never
rock
mentioned
band.
them to me. I've never heard of
Well,
them.
I only know them because one of their songs was on the soundtrack of Max Payne, which is a video game produced by a
I have
Finnish
heard that.
developer.
That's a name I have
And
heard.
we're going to talk about that game in a gaming episode, hopefully before your Smart Poet episode, Milton.
Okay, so that's how that's going to be. We're going to do philosophy, poetry, gaming, smut, gaming, poetry, poetry, gaming, smut. Write it down. Those will be the next however
I'm
many
sure
episodes.
you will be able to remember that exact order, Milton. I don't doubt it
You'll
at
all have to memorize it. You too, Selena, because we need your in-depth thinking for analyzing Max Payne.
Indeed.
And my smart poems perhaps are a little bit out of your league.
God.
But yeah, Max Payne
Yeah, how does he
and
carry
other
all those
silly
weapons with him?
named
Makes no
video
sense.
games. We need you to analyze them. Here we go.
No.
Here we go. Here we go.
No, we're not going anywhere. Your attempts to make me look like a grumpy ivory tower academic have been noted, and you have failed. When you make that face, Milton, you look like my baby brother.
Well, he's super
My
cute then.
8-year-old brother
he must
is way
be
more
super
mature.
cute then.
And by the way, I play video games with both of them. So in no way am I a humorless,
Now you're denying
prude.
it too hard. You're making
academic
it so
ivory
obvious,
tower
Selena. You're
of
making
grumpy
it so
acad-
obvious. You need to be more subtle with your denial. You need to pretend that you don't care.
Nice Kafka chop.
That was bad.
Milton, you're not smart enough to use a Kafka chop on me,
I
Milton.
wouldn't use a Kafka chop. I don't know about Kafka choppies. Why would I use it?
And I don't know why I would assume that you would know what a Kafka chop is.
Do you believe in ghosts, Selena?
No. You know I don't.
Right, but I do. I believe in ghosts, but only when they're on BBC. I have no faith in the American ghosts. You didn't get it? Okay.
Why would that go over my head? Milton,
You look like you
I
didn't
am
get
aware. Just because I don't watch as
Fine.
much TV as you do doesn't mean I'm not aware that every good British show has its cheap US
it.
knockoff.
That's worse. That means you actually didn't find it funny. But I have a better one. And if you don't laugh, if you don't both laugh at this one, I'm considering cancelling the podcast for life. I have a good one. I have a really good one. So,
We can only hope.
my Blue Yeti microphone, when I took it out of the box, I immediately noticed that while it sounds good, it looks blurry. It's out of focus. I can't focus my eyes on it. I just can't. Glasses on, glasses off, impossible. I cannot do it.
I presume that's a Weakfoot photography
My original, yes, it's my It's an out-of-focus camera joke. Bigfoot joke. It is. Yeti, Bigfoot, Getty, id. And now I'm
It
turning
was
into a
quite
poet
funny.
again.
We're not laughing, Milton, but there is a joke in
Yeah,
the
I
somewhat.
noticed. But it's a joke. It is a joke. Saying there's a joke in there. That's like saying there's a film, there's a game somewhere in Max Payne, or there's a good book somewhere in The Lord of the Rings. That's hurtful and nonsensical and beneath you.
I just had a eureka moment. It's not a joke. The hidden gem is
And
not
a good day to
joke.
you, Mrs.
It's-
Changed her mind very quickly.
Milton, grown-ups. Milton, rational adults change their mind multiple times a day. That's
Ask
point
Join.
1.
5.7 times a
Point
minute.
number 2, Milton, is you've thought of a visual gag. That's what you have.
Okay.
You've got the essence of a wonderful visual gag. You've got a great idea. Great.
I'll take that. I accept that.
You've
Thank
got
you.
great structure because you have the double meaning of the Yeti microphone. So Yeti, Bigfoot, that works.
Yes, that's a joke.
You need to elevate that material with visuals. And then you'll have something that really works as a
You mean like a
wonderful gag.
fake commercial?
Where? You'll figure it out. Why not?
Like
Something
our Yeti.
like that.
Our competing product, which will actually be called the Blue Bigfoot. People will make the association with, podcast mics. We are a competitive microphone company. They have the Blue Yeti. We have the Blue Bigfoot. And ours, when we take out of the box in our fake advertisement, we'll actually make it blurry in post-production. And then we'll have a line like, true to its name, unlike that Yeti crap. Hate to say it, Selena. At this moment in time, your comedic chops, you surpass me as a Canadian.
You will catch up eventually.
And that is both wonderful and depressing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thought we want to end on?
Leave our listeners with wonderful depression.
Yeah.
Let's leave them with a wonderful pot only.
Okay.
Yeah, we shouldn't make
Okay.
this too long. That is true.
No, we shouldn't. And we don't want to create too much editing work for you either. I know you love editing. Yeah,
Yes.
It's an art form. You always say that.
The main
But-
one, it's the art form.
Do you have the program window open, by the way?
Audacity is always on my screen.
Good. Okay. How long have we been recording?
Over 7 hours. We're coming in at 7 hours, 21 minutes, 37 seconds.
Okay, nice. So we were recording the whole time, even when we were looking for the dye and eating, and that makes sense. I'm surely losing. I trust your instincts. Maybe next time I will bump my head and you'll get some quality material for our eventual audio blooper reel. And let's end on a better note than wholesome depression. My comedic talents, plus Selena, your academic credibility, and add to that Lucy's instincts in creating a show. We can't fail. We haven't. Our first episode is successfully concluded. If either of you have anything to say, to add,
Actual topics. We'll need actual topics for the next episode, but
We'll find
this
them.
was fun.
I have some
Thank you.
prepared. It was fun. Thank you, Selena. And there's that academic brain I was talking about, that credibility. Lucy, you have the absolute last final word for this first episode. From me, farewell to all of our listeners. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, bye. I didn't know I would have to end this. Thank you for that. Thank you for the gift of the pleasure of having to conclude the episode, Milton. Seriously, though, yeah, keep making that face. One day we'll have cameras, and you won't get away with it anymore. Seriously, though, thank you. And thank you, Selena. Thank you for the sandwiches. I will now go home and try to make this episode the best that it can possibly be. And in the next one, Milton won't talk quite so much. He's already left for the bathroom. That's a start. Though technically this is the ending.
Milton-esque, but better.
He didn't even
joke.
hear it.
He didn't deserve to.
Bye, everyone.